Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I apologize that I haven't been up here all this week, but I'm going to try to upload another couple more videos before the weekend's out. You know, trying to be a tattoo artist, it's almost a 24/7 job. It's not just when you're tattooing, but a time in between trying to come up with, a design for the client. I had to start a big back piece yesterday. I tattooed for like almost 7 hours yesterday. But the days prior to that, I was busy trying to, come up with a design. So that being said, I had a couple of people ask me, like, what happens when somebody breaks the truce? It all depends on, everything is never black and white, right? But if you gave somebody your word and you go and you renege, then the other side, depending on who they are, is going to want some retribution. And they're going to come back to your people, hey, your homeboy fucked up. He broke the truce. Either handle him or we're going to handle you. So I have an example of a story like that, but the story, I wasn't there. This is happened in Coleman with my homeboys when they got into it with the whites. So there's been an ongoing issue with this particular individual, a dude named Yano. And Yano, I've shared, if you guys follow my episode, me and him bumped heads in Victorville, and I ended up sending him out to the hospital. So he gets shipped out. He ends up in Coleman, while I end up in Beaumont. And a couple years later, I got sent to Beaumont in 2006. So in 2008, when the yard in Beaumont blew up, they closed down the yard and shipped all of us out, and I ended up in Atwater. Well, shortly after that, a couple of dudes showed up to Atwater. A Vietnamese dude named Tigo and a Guamanian dude named James. Now, I shared the story with you when James got to the yard the following day. I think it's the very next, a day or two later, him and James and Joe end up killing a guard over there in Atwater. Well, the story I'm going to share to you today was how they ended up in Atwater. So when they were in Coleman, going back to the dude Yano, they were having a problem with one of the white dudes. So all the homies went out there, all the white dudes went out there, and they mediated the problem. And they had an agreement that, hey, the issue is squashed, right? But the very next day, Yano and another Hawaiian dude didn't like that they had to squash the beef. They went over there and stabbed up the white guy. Now, when this shit happens, all the other Asians, once we head out east, as far as like the Asian Islander car goes, there's not that many of us. The most population is in the California yards. And I'm sure there's a lot of them in the FCI up and down the West Coast, Sheridan, Hurlong, TI, and all the rest out here on the West Coast. But as far as the penitentiary go, it's only Atwater and Victorville. Atwater and Victorville, you might get 30, 40 Asian Islanders. But past that, on the other side of the Colorado River, there's only going to be a handful. I was just in Florence, and there was only 5 of us. When I was in Beaumont, there was 9 of us, So when Yano and them goes and stab this white dude that they were having a beef with, the yard blew up between them. Because like I tell you, when you look out the window and you see your people, regardless if you like them or not, if you see black and a white dude getting into it, you better turn around and square up. If you're a black dude, you better go try to get a white dude. If you're a white dude, you better try to go get a black dude. And it's the same thing for every group and every race, because one, it's always better to be on the offense than the defense. You know, when you're in a position of defending yourself, so the other side already got the upper hand already, you know, because one of the tactics, war tactics, is surprising your opponent, you know. And if you're waiting to see what somebody else is going to do, then you're giving them time to arm up, to group up, and all the rest. So the story was relayed to me by the homie Tigo. He's a Vietnamese dude. I shared a story where I spent almost 6 months with this motherfucker in the shoe, and he is borderline bipolar schizophrenic. If anybody knows Tigo, they know he's burnt the fuck out, right? And I spent 6 months in a cell with him. You know, I don't really have, I've been locked up with so many different people that I'm able to navigate through different people, different personality. And I'm really not worried about, you know, my well-being as far as being with somebody in there like that, because at any time, if I ever feel like my health is threatened, then I'm gonna go on the offense, you know. But me and him got along for the most part, but just like, you know, he has his own issues, his own personality, and I'm pretty easy to get along with, you know. But, you know, and I get along until I don't get along no more. Then when I can't get along with you, then, you know, we have to figure something out. So while I was in the shoe, he was telling me how he ended up in Atwater. Because how he ended up in the shoe in Atwater was when they came and shook down for the murder, for when the two homies butchered the cop, butchered the CO. They came and shook every unit down. And Tigo likes to drink. Like, he's a cool dude when he's sober, but when he starts drinking that White Lightning, you know, there's a different personality come out. Like, it's Heckle and Hyde and Jack. I don't know but Heckle and Hyde. I'm not sure, but you know the one I'm trying to say, right? Jacko and Hyde. I think that's it. Jacko and Hyde. But so most of the stuff that he's ever got into is because of him drinking. So when they were coming and shaking down, he had 2 water bottles of Lightning, and he didn't want to get it taken from him, so he just popped the lid and downed it. And you know, for you to be able to freaking take a bottle of Lightning and down it like some water, you're a beast. You know, because Lightning is the purest form of alcohol. You know, you turn the wine, you cook it, you steam it. You know, you cook it, you catch the steam. You know, turn it back into liquid, and it's just fire. It burns your whole nose, your face. It's strong stuff. So he slams 2 bottles of Lightning. And by the time the guards come and get him, you know, he's bumping his gum, talking shit. But he's one of them dudes that has a history of violence. So the COs, taking into account that one of the guards just got killed by one of our homies, and now here's this dude who has a history of violence, of stabbings, and is running his mouth, so they locked his ass up. I get locked up during that time under investigation. So they throw us in the shoe, we become cellies. And he was telling the story about, you know, how they ended up in Coleman. So Yano went and broke the truth. After they all had the meeting, after everybody decided that everything was cool, him and a Hawaiian dude turned around and went and stabbed a white dude. So when that happened, T goes in the cell. He looks out the window, he sees the deuces, and he sees Yano and this Hawaiian dude and the white dudes. So he does the only thing he knows. He pulls out his stuff, busts out the window, and go get him a white dude. Because, you know, whether it's right or wrong or any of the rest of that stuff, I emphasize that it's like that. If your group of people that you associate with is jumping off, you got to jump off too. Because if not, they're going to get you. Because not everybody thinks that way. But when it comes to like the white dudes that are gang members, the blacks that are gang members, when it comes to the Mexicans, they're all, even if they're not gang members, they all fall under one or two other gangs that are above them. It's mandatory. Because if you don't, then once the smoke clears, then they're going to do what they call clean house. And an example of that is when we were in Atwater. We had jumped in, me and my homeboy Bryson had jumped in a riot against the Mexicans on the whites' behalf. Because one of the white dudes that was there was one of the homies' cousin. And there was only 17 of them on the yard that we were on, and there was 250 Mexicans. And the homie said, "Hey, I'm gonna stand with my cousin." For me, I'm not gonna sit there and watch the homie get butchered and then react, or I'm not gonna sit there and watch the homie get butchered because I wouldn't feel right with myself to allow another race just butcher the homie. And then, so if I know I'm going to get into it already, I'm not going to play defense. I'm always going to be on the offense. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to be rushing 250 dudes, but I'm not going to be waiting for them to come and hit me before I do something, So me and the homie jumped in the riot. A lot of people got hurt during that incident. We got locked down for a couple months. But once we came out of lockdown, the whites started cleaning houses. Everybody that didn't participate, because it's a race riot right here, they were knocking them off. They beat up a dude in the kitchen. They stabbed up a dude in the yard. And then the shot caller, at the time, his name was Chino, they had picked him up, after they opened up the compound, because he lived in 2B and it didn't go off in his unit. And he was, when you're a spokesman for somebody, when things go bad, they're going to hold you accountable. So the SIS came and had picked him up and locked him up. So when they did that, a couple of white dudes, they got themselves put back in the shoe, somehow, some way, got themselves in a cage with him and smashed them out. But that's why I tell you that when shit jump off between your prospective group, you got to do your part. Even ain't got nothing to do with you. Yeah, it might not be fair. You might be minding your business, but you have to understand the mentality of it. It's the simple fact that people leave you alone during the course of your time because they know you're affiliated with this group. You're under this umbrella. So you can't just sit around and enjoy the benefit of being under a group, part of a group, or associated with a group. But then when it comes to getting your hand dirty, you want to be like, oh, it ain't got nothing to do with me. It doesn't work that way. And if you try to make it work that way, you're going to have a lot of issues, man, because the group provides you a place to come to eat. A group provides a place, a cell for you to stay in. Because when you come through, unless you're the one of the first person that opened the penitentiary, everything in that penitentiary is claimed by somebody. The cells, these certain cells are a Sereno cell. These certain cells are Crip cell. These certain cells are Asian Islander cell. This table right here is an Asian Islander table. This TV right here is a blood TV, it's a Crip TV. It's a white TV. So when you come in, the people before you are already put in the work to establish these things. So you come in and you sit down at the Asian TV, you go to chow, you sit at the Asian table, you live in an Asian cell, but then when something happens, oh, I'm not Asian or I ain't part of it, motherfucker feel some type of way about that shit, you know? But also, you know, for me, I understand and I recognize, like, some dudes that are not fighters. Some dudes are just trying to do their time. But even if they're not going to be on the front line fighting, they still got to contribute to the group somehow, some way. Because there's no free pass. You can't just ride on somebody's coattail your whole bid, you know? So, the dude, going back to the dude Yano, when he broke, you know, hit the word, the whole yard blew up. All the homies got locked up. They all got into it with another white dude. They all ended up in the shoe. Now, he's got a green light on him now. You know, so I don't know where he's at right now. I've heard that he went home and caught another case and came back to the feds. But anywhere he goes, if he runs to anybody that was associated, that knows Tigo or knows James or that was associated with the people that was on that yard, you know, even if they weren't there, they're going to hit him. You know, they're going to hit him because not necessarily so much as that he broke his word or he broke, you know, the peace, the treaty, but because him breaking his word, the words, put the rest of everybody in danger. And not only that, there's a chain reaction. Now, these dudes got shipped to Victorville or to Atwater from Coleman, and then the next day, they catch a body, and now they're sitting on death row. So, especially anybody that's related to them dudes, if they're cousins or brothers, because those two, they have a lot of relatives in the penitentiary. But also, you know, with this particular individual, he's built himself a reputation of being a piece of shit. So now, you know, maybe in the beginning people didn't really know it, but after a certain amount of time, you know, your true self comes out. And once people start seeing that you have an MO, as soon as you hit the yard, they're going to eliminate that. Because for most of us, we're just trying to do our time. We're trying to make it home. And while we're trying to make it home, while we're there, we're trying to do it in the best way we know how. You know, I share these stories that a lot of shit happens. But shit doesn't happen because that's who we are, that's what we want. These things that happen are because some goofy motherfucker didn't know how to do his time and crossed the line, violated somebody, disrespected somebody. But for most of us, we just trying to kick it. When I was there, I was trying to just play cards and get high and mind my P's and Q's. But I always found myself in situations because somebody else didn't know how to act. And I'm not, one of them dudes that's just going to be like, oh, that ain't got nothing to me. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Because I understand the benefit that I receive from being under the umbrella or for being recognized as my own entity. You know, after I've been down for a long time, wherever I got sent out, they already know, I'm who I am. And regardless if I got 5 people or 40 people, I'm still in the same position. I'm still respected as, who I am. But at the end of the day, man, when you do break your word, when you shake somebody's hand and you don't hold to it, you're going to be held accountable for it. And it's just a matter of time. Because a lot of times these dudes that do these goofy shit, they get checked in, or they go to, or they check themselves in, and they're thinking that the CO is going to protect them. And they hoping they get shipped out to another yard where nobody knows their dirt. But there's no secrets in the penitentiary. Eventually, you're going to run across somebody that know who you are, know what you've done, and they're going to let the right people know what's going on with you, or they themselves going to handle it. But, they have a saying, you can run, but you can't hide. And that's true in the penitentiary. Because eventually, it's going to catch up to you, and every foul shit you've done, you're going to be held accountable for it. Welcome to the USP.